This is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, brought to you by Sysco. Sysco is here to help set you up for success by delivering high-quality foods, products, and services for your restaurant. Recording live to digital from the NC F&B studios in downtown Raleigh. Join us as we lead you into the kitchen, inside the bottle, and into the minds of the food and beverage industry. And now, complaining that their ceviche was too cold, it's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today, in studio, straight out of Cary, the best ice cream in North Carolina. That's right, I said it.
Whoa.
The amazing Andia's Ice Cream with owners, creators, and founders, Andia and George Xouris.
Hey, guys.
Welcome.
Hi.
We're so excited to be here.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, dessert in the house today. This is a good way to start all your days, right?
Yeah.
We'll get to it, but we do have ice cream in the house, and we're going to talk about that ice cream because there's something special about it, which I'm very excited. But I think this story, at least for you and I, Matt, this story starts with our state. Our state of North Carolina.
Yep.
And what did we do? I don't know. What did we do?
Well, we judged the Our State magazine, their food competition for best made in North Carolina.
Yeah, the makers, right? The Our State makers. I don't know. What do we try to say?
It was called Made in NC.
Made in NC.
Yeah.
What I said.
Yeah.
We knew what you meant.
And Max and I, we put this out. We did a podcast on it. It was recorded, and we tasted, I don't know, 30 to 40 different foods, all laid out for us in their offices out in Greensboro, and we're tasting and then Max and I collaborated and said, well, what do you think, and what are your thoughts? And they were like, wow, that ice cream, and we were of like mind in all of these. We're not always lockstep, but we were lockstep in these, but Max was like, well, we can't put the ice cream first. It's ice cream. I was like, but I know.
I had
it's
to overqualify.
damn good.
Yeah, I had to overcompensate. I don't know. I mean, everybody could just roll their eyes when they hear my reasoning behind it. But I was like, look, this ice cream is some of the best ice cream I've ever had. It's fantastic. And the particular ice cream, which I believe was buttered popcorn.
Butter toffee popcorn.
There we go. And it was awesome. But I'm like, we're supposed to be judges here talking about like all foods, and we've got things like lamb sausage and pimento cheese and vinegars and honeys and like everything. Like anything could fit in this realm. And I'm like, of course ice cream is yummy just in general because it's ice cream. So we're going to look like a-holes if we're just saying, well, we like the ice cream, that's the best. So I overqualified, overcompensated, and pushed you guys down to third?
Number two.
Yeah.
Number two.
You were number two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't win the whole thing, but that's because of my own personal internal turmoil and politics.
Yeah.
So,
but hey, they could have just gone with like something chocolate based, but they didn't. So that's even
Right.
says something. Okay, let's
that ice
us.
cream was. Yeah. Never mind.
Thanks, guys.
And then you were so gracious to reach out to us and say, "Hey, thanks for the nod. Why don't you come down and let's show us around and show us what we do here?" And then I of course said, "Well, we have to bring our families because our kids can't go. We can't go to an ice cream place and not bring our kids." So thank you for inviting us and thank you for reaching out.
Thank you, guys. It was such an honor. We were ecstatic that we came in second, and it's just been such a joy to work with you both. It's been fun to show you how we make ice cream and the magic that goes behind the formulations.
Yeah. And the creativity never stops between you two. But bring us to the genesis of, and we had talked about it a little bit offline, but why Cary? Why ice cream? How did this get off the ground?
I'm going to turn that over to my hubby over here, George.
Well, we moved down to North Carolina in 2010. We lived in northwestern New Jersey, little town called White House Station, and there was a local ice cream shop there that we loved going to. And it was just an awesome environment, so much fun. You'd run into neighbors. Coaches would bring their players there after games. Just a fun place to hang out. And I said, man, I would love to own this place. It was never available, never offered for sale. However, we said, I said, we're going to do this someday, something like this. So when we moved to North Carolina, we said, hey, we have a longer season here because of the weather. So let's go for it. And so that was the genesis of it.
And before that, you guys had like regular corporate day jobs. I don't. Was that right, George? You were in sales?
Yeah. Yep. I was in technology sales.
Tech sales, yeah.
Yep. Tech sales for 27 years.
Okay.
And so, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, always want to have my own gig, and dabbled in a few things over the years, little part-time side hustles. But this was my first, full plunge into a real business.
So before you moved down to North Carolina, you're like, when we go down there, we're going to open an ice cream shop.
Actually, well, we didn't know exactly what was going to happen. In 2009, when the financial, world crashed and George was selling financial software, we knew we needed to make some kind of change. And we came down here, honestly, on a leap of faith. We chose North Carolina. It's a beautiful, beautiful state. We wound up moving to Cary because they have great schools. And so we didn't know what the plan was going to be, but it just kind of magically fell into place. And we believe that it was just meant to be, and here we are. And before then, I was home with our kids. We had preteens at the time, and I was home raising them and always cooked and baked and, loved the creative aspect, but never had a background in that.
So what's the first step you take to say, like, do you get a place first? Do you start R&Ding ice cream? How do you get this venture off the ground?
So we are very big into education. We want to make sure that we do the right research and know what we're doing before we take a step, because this is a very expensive step to take without having some kind of, risk assessment plan. And so we went to the North American Ice Cream Association. There actually is a very fun convention that, is for ice cream retailers around the country. And it was probably the best 3 days of our lives, hanging out with other ice cream makers. And that's where we started our education.
Okay.
And from there, we learned about several ice cream schools. There's places you can go to learn. Several universities have programs. Private people have programs on learning how to make different types of ice cream. And then it was 3 years of R&D. So for 3 years, I was practicing recipes and having ice cream tasting parties at our house with all of our friends and family. And
must have made a lot of friends.
We did. Yeah. We had lots of friends. But yeah, that's how, for us anyway, we were not those people who jumped right in. We did a lot of research beforehand.
And you're not just I want to get back to like the story, but you're not just like your average ice cream maker. You are a master ice cream
national grandmaster.
A national grandmaster. Thank you, Max.
Thanks, guys. Yes, I will humbly say I get very emotional and choked up thinking about it, but it's been a very long journey. And we've been honored with, I think we're at 4 national blue ribbons, which has won us the title of Grandmaster, yeah.
And what are the parameters around being a Grandmaster?
It's a crazy cool experience. So the North American Ice Cream Association, which is actually an international organization, they have 500 or so members. They partner with Cornell University. So Cornell has a dairy science department, and they have a whole team that focuses on the science of ice cream and cheese making, of course. And so they have professional tasters. So in order to enter this competition, you have a specific date with specific flavors that you need to send. It's usually vanilla, chocolate, strawberry that they judge. You overnight it on a specific date to Cornell. They test for bacteria, and there's literally a list of about 30 different criteria that they test your ice cream on, and they get hundreds and hundreds of entries. And so to be chosen for a blue ribbon and to qualify is incredibly difficult and stressful for me, honestly. But
I love that it's standardized.
Yeah.
That it's chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry. Like, and we're gonna get into the wild flavors that you do, but like that's really testing your mettle. It's like if you're doing a beer competition, you have to make a lager, an ale, and a pilsner. Like, let's see how you handle the basics.
Yeah. Exactly.
By the way, I don't want to bring the house down into a somber moment, but we're talking dairy. We're talking about things. I don't know if you saw the news recently, but our good friend Ran Lou was in a pretty horrific accident, and I just wanted to connect the community to know he got one of the bulls on his ranch got out, and he suffered a lot of injury to his face and to his shoulder and his knee. He's in the hospital right now. Ranlu Dairy, if you haven't had it, it's some of the best dairy, some of the best milk you can have in all of North Carolina. He's been a previous guest of the show. He's just a really awesome guy, but he needs your help right now. So check out, I know he has a GoFundMe right now, so just go to ranludairy.com to get any information you can. And if you want to donate and help him out, I'm sure he would appreciate it. So, but as we take a quick break from that moment, let's take another moment to talk about how we keep the lights on, these beautiful ring lights that illuminate our beautiful faces here on our video part of the podcast. I'm talking about Sysco, and Sysco, the global food service leader, is proud to be the title sponsor of the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. Fresh food and fresh ideas are at the heart of the food and service industry. Sysco delivers exceptional produce, custom cuts of meat, high-quality seafood, imported foods, offering global flavors to you locally. They have a network of culinary experts who offer consulting and business planning services to enhance your menu and keep you on top of emerging trends and increase the efficiencies that grow your business. Sysco Shop puts the power of the on-the-go ordering in your hands. You can search Sysco's complete product catalog, locate key items from any page, and place quick and easy orders on your schedule. Visit Sysco.com, that's Sysco.com, to learn more about Sysco Shop and the other great ways Sysco can help grow your business, your restaurant business. Sysco, at the heart of food and service.
Yeah. All right. Speaking at the heart of food and service, so you guys have 2 locations around the triangle right now where you can go eat ice cream or buy takeaway, right? One of those we went to, which is in, I don't know what you call that, like Central, it's like dead Central Cary, right? Like right off of Cary Parkway near the, where EA Sports is getting their campus.
Like probably
Kind of
southeast.
Southeast Cary? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about 10 minutes west of NC State's campus.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where's the other location?
Northwest Cary.
Northwest Cary.
Green Level Church Road and Carpenter Fire Station.
Okay.
Just west of 55.
Do both those places offer the same exact offerings, like same flavors and all that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We have one central production facility, so we like to make sure that everybody has the same exact experience. So yes, we keep it the same.
Which is where we went, the central production facility. So you enlighten Max and I about premium ice cream making and a couple things that I want the people who are fans to understand. So one of the things is the base. Now, there's a lot of ice cream makers out there, and the ice cream that you buy in the store, it's just like a purchased base, and then they can add flavors or whatever. But you guys are making your own base. Is that right?
So yes, we partner with an amazing dairy co-op up north, and we've been blessed enough to be able to make a proprietary blend. So, which means, it's a little bit more unique than the other ones that you can get at the store.
Yeah. And what did you look for? Because I know you told me, and actually we were, it's ironic because when we went to their facility, we were talking about Ranlu Dairy, and you're like, oh, I should try that. And you should, it's great. But what are you looking for in your dairy to make your base? Like, what is the factors that's, okay, this is for me?
It honestly starts with grass-fed milk.
Okay.
I know that sounds like, something that people joke around about, but it really, truly makes a difference in the end product. So finding a dairy that really takes care of their cows and feeds them well and doesn't give them any, inject any hormones or so forth in there. So grass-fed milk is one part of it, but the other components are just no fillers. Just like you hear about, whey protein that has fillers in it or different things. So we don't want to add anything like whey in our base or a lot of like dry solids. Like a lot of people put like non-fat milk solids in there. It's like a filler. I can't explain. It just makes it plumpier, but you can taste the difference in the flavor. It's not quite as premium. So we're just very careful about what goes in there. We try not to add any artificial ingredients. Try to minimize the gums that go in there. Obviously, when you're making a commercial product, it has to have stabilizers and et cetera, but we try to keep it to a minimum.
Okay. And then like, if you just tasted your base ice cream, would it just be like vanilla? Like what would that, and the base is the same for every flavor you make. Is that right?
We have 2 different bases that we use. We have one that contains eggs, pasteurized eggs, and the other one does not. And the one with the egg gives us a creamier, fluffier, richer custard base almost for some of our flavors. But most of our flavors do not have that in it. And so as far as the flavor of the base, it's just a sweet cream.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'll sometimes profile that and use it for flavors that have lots of fun things in it that doesn't need a base. But if you want to have a vanilla ice cream, you add vanilla extract to it. Yeah. It's not.
Okay. And the other thing from that was the key ingredient, and I always said this, like, when I buy ice cream at the store or the big brands of ice cream, like there's always freezer burn, and it's always, it's like you can't avoid that after you open it for a week, no matter what. Now there's a specific freezing process that you guys have tried and true. Walk us through that.
So it matters. You start with the amount of air you're putting in your ice cream. To make a super premium ice cream, you want to have a little bit of overrun. So it starts with a high butter fat. So we were talking about the milk before. We have a 16% butter fat, which is almost as high up as you can go.
That's extremely high.
Yeah.
Like, I know a little bit about this
Yeah.
side of things, and it's like that's a lot.
Yeah.
4 to 10% is usually the range you can find, like when you're just buying from a company like Cisco or whomever. Like
Baskin Robbins, Haagen-Dazs, or whatever the major ice cream brands are. Is that right?
They're about 10% butterfat.
Okay.
So by the FDA standards, you can't call it ice cream in quotes, unless it has at least 10% butterfat.
Oh, yeah.
Like a soft serve, like if you go to
Those
Dairy
can
Queen,
go
or
lower, yeah.
yeah, those are much lower. They're
'Cause
like
they're
4,
called
6%.
soft serve.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
It doesn't have the butterfat. But 16%, Max is right. 16% is a very high butterfat. If you go anything above an 18%, you're going to turn it into butter, which we don't want butter. We don't want that oily film in our mouth when we're eating ice cream, right? So,
And that thingy, the higher butterfat is the less air you need to add to your ice cream?
there are two different factors. You can have high butterfat and also have a lot of overrun.
Okay.
So you can, create a higher yield. But for us to have what we consider super premium, we have a low overrun as well. So high fat, low air, which makes a super premium product as well. But so it starts with those two things.
And then you were saying about I'm remembering my 3-year-old, who's now 4, was being his wild self. So that's why we brought you in the studio. So thank you. It's about the timing, right? Like having the right freezers on hand. And there was something different about the freezers that I can't remember that was specific to you.
Yeah. So we just basically take it through this extensive freezing process. So after it comes out of the batch freezer, it's very thick, like a frozen custard almost, right? But it has to be frozen right away. So we have these, they're called blast freezers, or hardening cabinets is another word for them. And so it goes in there and they're at about a negative 30-degree temperature.
Yeah.
And the idea is to freeze that ice cream as fast as possible so that you don't get ice crystals in them. So the faster we can freeze that air, the less chance that the air that we put into it is going to be able to melt out of it, basically. And so the less chance of having ice crystals. And then from there, I was explaining to you guys, we go from negative 30 to about negative 10 to 0 to 8. So it's a process to get it back up to the right temperature to freeze it, but it makes a very big difference in the temperature of the product, of the quality of the product.
Yeah. Right, because it eventually has to get up to a manageable rate, or else you would just have a block. It would be correct. You'd be on the surface of Hoth. Star Wars nerds. But you have to get it. You can't just leave it at negative 30, or else you couldn't dip your spoon into it.
Exactly.
Right. So
You
slowly,
have to get your tauntaun out and ride around.
Yeah, live inside it. No, we don't talk about how gross that is enough, right? That, in Empire, that they just sliced open an animal and then get inside, and that's what. It's so gross.
Yeah. I think we could leave that for another episode.
Right in the middle of it. May the 4th was last week.
That's true.
That is true.
Anyhow, no. So that's interesting. When we were at your facility, it was nice. We walked through. We saw your so the big room. That's like the 0 temperature room.
The walk-in
I guess.
freezer.
Yeah,
that one's negative 20.
That's the negative 20, of which you had big, to make the same reference, Han Solo looking like jackets hanging on the side that you could get into if you were going to go inside there, because it's negative 20. Yeah. So I mean, it's insane to go in there. You probably don't spend very much time doing inventory in that room.
I have an amazing, amazing team, and shout out to the Andia's team, the production team, the delivery team, the scooping, they're all amazing. And so I'm lucky enough that I barely go in that room. But my team, yes, they have gloves and hats, and because literally every part of you will freeze if you are in there for more than a few minutes.
Yeah, you'll get like frostbite or something.
Yeah.
So this is great though. So you build it. Let's talk about
One thing what I loved also, just coming from the wine world, is the cleanliness of your facilities. And remember, we had to take off our shoes and put hairnets on, so like nothing could get into the air because it could get into the ice cream machine.
Our shoes.
Right.
We didn't take off our shoes. We cleaned the bottoms of our shoes, and then
with the sanitizer mat.
this wasn't your house.
Oh,
Matt.
you're right. Yeah.
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 At Matt's house, we got to take off our shoes. He's so used to that. He likes to throw. He thinks everyone takes their shoes off.
Well, you drag your feet when you walk, so you're just like getting all the dirt.
Yeah. So no, but you had to clean your shoes, and then we wore hairnets, and yeah, we did everything. We did it right. But so you get it back to but let's talk about it's funny. We were just this sounds more like a Cisco commercial, but this is kind of funny. And I was kind of laughing that we were at the Cisco general sales meeting not so long ago, and while we were there, that we were talking about the quality of their products, and they do have really great products. And they were like specifically they sliced open a 5-gallon container of their ice cream versus their competitor's ice cream. And all they were talking about was something that all I could think about is you, Andia, like when we were talking about air and about how most of the ice cream you eat, it's something like 70% air, like of like the low level stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
How much air is in your ice cream?
So we run at about 30% overrun, which is, I don't know what the scientific term is, but basically
it's about as low as you can get.
Yeah.
Meaning it's super dense.
Otherwise, it's not ice cream anymore. So air is required to be mixed in with the ingredients to make it ice cream.
Yeah.
But though I would imagine, Max, that those ice creams that you looked at were probably what we call 100% overrun. So they put in, the way you think of it in a way I guess could work is you're putting in 100 liters of ice cream milk base in your machine, and it's whipping the same amount of air into it. So you're getting now, double that amount of air. So that's typically when you have like a low quality product. And I love Cisco, by the way. Let me
Well,
just
no,
say
don't
that.
get me wrong.
Cisco's was the one that was quality, and the other one, it looked like I don't know what did it look like? Like it looked like corned beef hash or something like that.
It looked disgusting.
Yeah.
Because they had it was a strawberry ice cream, but they had like little strawberries in it. But the way it looked when you sliced it in the middle looked really gross. Yeah, it looked like pimento loaf or something.
Wow.
I think actually somebody said, "Is that pimento loaf?" But
wow.
but the point that they were saying was, look, we all know there's different levels of quality, and it costs a certain amount of money when you do those different levels of quality. What Cisco especially was talking about was like when you're buying big bulk kind of quote unquote inexpensive types of ice cream, you could choose this company's or you could choose ours, and the difference is this. And so I already kind of saw that point of reference. But then we're talking about to the next level, and you're doing boutique, and I don't think Cisco would be upset at me saying this. It's like, no, this is like a different level. This is craft to a completely different level. What makes Andia's unique is the small batch process that you go through, and that's what gets you to this really rich, somewhat, I guess, dense, if you would. It's not like that's not a beautiful word to say, but like this ice cream is solid and creamy and thick and rich. And so, but from what I understand, and I'd like to know how you're doing, we saw it happen in person while your team was making it, but it's all made in really small amounts every time. You just do it a bunch of times. Right. So maybe walk us through a little bit of that, and also tell us like why you're doing it that way.
So there's two different ways to make scooped ice cream, right? So you have, when you say frozen desserts, there's a whole variety. Like you have gelato and Italian ice and custard and everything. We're specifically talking about the process of making hard scooped ice cream, which doesn't necessarily have to be premium quality, but it's, you scoop it from a pan, right? So
sure.
There's two ways to do that. We use what we call batch freezers, which the largest batch freezer that you can get is probably 40, 50 quart storage?
44 is the biggest on the market. Yeah.
And so anything above that, if you want to do mass quantities higher than that, and that's what you're getting, from the Ciscos of the world, is they have what we call continuous freezers. It's a very different process of how you make ice cream. And so for us, even as we grow and we have more locations and shipping nationally, which was something we're about to start doing. And so for us, it's very important to keep the process because you're going to get a very different quality product. So That's exactly right. Even though we're growing and we make ice cream 7 days a week and 30 batches a day at least at a minimum, I still want to keep this process, which means you just have more batch freezers. So more batch freezers, more team. Every pint is hand packed from the machine. You guys saw that being made as well, and so that's a very, very important step. So it's kind of like beer, right? These breweries, the microbreweries, we're like a micro creamery, really. We want to keep that premium quality. And
well, there is a connection going back to wine, because that's what Matt and I know very well. Back in the day when I used to work for Kendall Jackson, one of the biggest companies Kendall Jackson owns. If you don't know this at all, folks, I'll tell you the big reveal. La Crema is owned by Kendall Jackson. It's their number 2 brand. It's a massive brand for KJ. And they acquired La Crema back in the day, but they didn't change, to their credit, and I'm being team Kendall Jackson when I say this, they didn't change the way La Crema was made. They did these very small boutique open air fermenters, hand punched down. They did a small boutique process, but what they decided to do is they're like, cool, this one unit makes how much? 100 cases. Cool, let's do 1,000 of them. And I kid, there's not 1,000, but like Melissa Stackhouse, who was then the winemaker at the time, she was responsible for making the most wine in the world. She was She had the connotation of she was the female, a woman in the industry making the most amount of wine in the country or something like that. Like she was making a ridiculous amount, but she would say, "Oh, it's all about this one unit. I do it this way, and it's the only way. It's this. Yeah, I am making boutique wine, but then we're just copying and pasting a whole bunch of times. Wow. So there is a lot of manpower." Or person power going on into La Crema, baking all this
nice
stuff.
Nice recovery.
Yeah, there you go. But it just, they have a huge facility, and they ended up getting so big that they doubled their production. And one facility to the left was all the Pinot Noir, and all the facility to the right was all the Chardonnay. Wow. And so they do those two, and then I think even their Pinot Gris was like made down in Monterey, and like they kind of diversified where they do all this stuff. But they were very specific about making the stuff and saying like, "Oh yeah, we can scale this. We're just going to do it this way," as opposed to, let's say, another place that just gets bigger tanks and they cut the corners on the process.
They whip more air into it. But also the problem is that with that, and no offense to La Crema, I think they're a good product, and our friends in the room.
Not a customer of Matt's, or not in Matt's book.
But Megan and Matt over here, they are. I remember they make good wine. But the problem with that is...
You heard it here first. Matt hates La Crema. Go ahead, Matt. How dare
It's a finite resource, because in order to make good wine, we all know you need good grapes. So that would be like saying, well, Andia, if you're going to make all this ice cream on a national level, you still have to have the dairy source, right?
Right.
So you have to scale that part.
Exactly.
But I want to talk about beyond that, because the creativity part and the different part of production is the wild flavors that you guys do. And I know that's why everyone's listening. Everyone's like, all right, enough with the nerdy ice cream talk. Let's talk about these awesome flavors. So what was the first out of the box flavor you guys did?
Oh my gosh, that's so much pressure. I've got to think back.
Or whatever first comes to mind. It doesn't have to be the actual first. We won't fact check.
Fig and goat cheese, maybe?
Oh.
We did a fig and goat cheese.
Quite a few years ago.
That was when we used to wholesale before we had retail stores.
Okay.
I was doing custom flavors for a lot of local chefs. And fig and goat cheese was one of the flavors we were making for a Greek restaurant.
I was going to say that obviously, if you could see you two or not, or know by the last name, but there's a very strong Greek lineage inside of your family. Both of you are both from Greek households. You come from Greek families.
Yes.
And is that part of the rule? Like, I've seen my big fat Greek wedding. Did your mom say you better meet a guy's Greek boy?
You just tried to channel your Jewish voice.
I know. I couldn't. I don't know what a Greek mom sounds like.
Very similar, actually.
Right.
But I heard the same thing.
Like, you better meet a Greek girl.
Yeah, nice Greek girl.
Yeah, nice Greek girl.
Or I'd bring home a non-Greek girl, and my mother would say, she's not Greek.
And they try to wipe their sores with Windex.
Yeah. That's the only thing in the movie that's not correct.
The Windex.
I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, that must have just been her and her family.
Yeah.
So cute. Well, I swore I'd never marry a Greek guy. So We're married 30 years now. I don't know, I guess.
Yeah.
Of which I laugh because, George, you're quite a tall, strapping man. You're like 6'4" or something over there. I don't know. You're a tall guy.
Well, I don't know about strapping, but
Well,
I am
whatever.
tall.
Take the compliment.
Take the compliment.
Thank you. Okay.
Andy, not so much.
Yeah, no.
You're like, what, 4 feet shorter than George?
Probably.
And then I love
5'2".
because you have the picture of your children. Clearly, they got George's genes
Yes.
in the height department.
Yeah.
It's like we basically have like the late twin towers of the Spurs, Duncan and David Robinson of the day back with you and your boy and your daughter as well. It's like
Here
could
I
play
am.
power forward, which is great. And then then it's like there's mom. Like, could you pan down on the picture so we can see mom in the picture?
I forget how short I am until I see a picture of us. I'm like, oh my God, I'm really that short? Wow. So
Right.
But don't let that fool you.
No, we would never, yeah.
But the Greek lineage and growing up, obviously it's rooted in. I mean, if I had to be forced to eat Greek food for the rest of my life, done and done.
Yeah.
Like that probably is the one place. I just at least saying Mediterranean in a global scale, it would be like the easiest adjustment in my life because the food is pretty much flawless.
yeah.
And it's simple, it's fresh, it's beautiful.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Like that's why everybody living in the Mediterranean will live forever and they all look
Exactly.
great.
So this is a really good segue, Max, because we
yeah.
can just talk into your flavor R&D thing here because
I'm going to give you the credit, Matt, because
Yes.
okay. So then this is my
for
segue.
once, mark this day. This is a watermark day on the podcast.
Oh wait, Anthony, what did you have to say about it?
It is that fucking special.
It really is, Anthony. I mean,
Oh shit!
right, exactly. It
It
is.
is that fucking
It
special.
really is.
Oh, shit.
Oh my god, I got him caught in a warm.
All right, thanks, Anthony.
All right, pipe down, Anthony. Anthony, where we love you. Max has new buttons to play with, but no, we're talking about Bubbles and Brisket, folks. And if you haven't heard about Bubbles and Brisket, what have you been doing? So,
Seriously, what rock do you need to crawl out from?
Yeah.
right. And so it's Saturday, June 3rd. It's coming up. I don't know when this podcast will be released, but it will be released before the event. So you got to know it's either this weekend or the weekend before or coming up soon. But Bubbles and Brisket is our third annual Bubbles and Brisket. It's our event that we do, the NCF&B podcast. We put together. It is it's a collection of barbecue and sparkling wine. I mean, we could oversimplify it to say champagne, but we're doing more than that. We're doing Cremant and Cava and Prosecco
Amazing.
and just American sparkling, however you want to do. But then, just like the Native American, they use all the buffalo. We're going to use all the cow.
That's right.
Because we've got the brisket, but then we've also got to use the dairy. And we said we need some desserts for this event, and Andia was more than happy to raise her hand and help us make some ice cream for the event. So
A collab.
yeah. So not only when you go to this event, you buy tickets. You can get them at ncfbpodcast.com. It's the first thing you see on the website. Click in it, buy tickets. Tickets are $75. We got tickets for kids for $25. We even have designated driver tickets, meaning no alcohol, but you can get all the food you want, and those are, I think, are $45. And then and you can even we did the same thing last year, and so many of those designated driver people were like, I'm here now and I want all the wine. Can I upgrade? Yes, you can. We have an upgrade ticket while you're there in the moment, and you can just upgrade to get the alcohol as well. But then we're also going to have beer vendors. We have champagne. We're doing it a little bit different, and I think it's going to be even better, where each champagne is being paired with each chef's dish. And so when you walk up to a chef and you grab, let's say, Jake Wood's food, who will be there at Lawrence Barbecue, you're going to get Jake's food, and then there's going to be a champagne or a Cremant or something that will be paired perfectly. And Matt is doing these pairings and putting them together. So like this was made for that type of thing. And you go down, there'll be 10 different chefs and 10 different sparkling wines. But then we have our friends over at Tarboro Brewing Company pouring beer. And then we have Freedom Beverage, which is connected to them as well. And then our other buddies, previous guests of the show, Hatchet Brewing, will also be there pouring beer. You can buy beer there. That'll be like additional stuff. And then our friends at Taylor's Wine Shop are opening up a wine bar there as well as providing all the sampled champagne. So it's a lot of interactive aspects to it, but because we also say bring the kids, bring the family, you got to have some sweets there. And so that's why we have your ice cream. And Matt, You came up with this. I'm not going to take any credit. I threw out some generic ones. Now, he did have a bunch of losers, my friend. Like, you threw out a bunch of ones. I remember reading them to Felicia, and she goes, "What? No, we're not. No, why would you do that?" She's like,
All you need is one.
nougat.
That's right.
All you need is one.
But Matt, what were the flavors that you came up with?
Well, something that I love to eat in the summertime, and as it's going to be warm, and then based on your guys' heritage, we wanted to do a little like sweet and savory idea because you guys excel at that. It seems like so. It's a watermelon and feta
That's right.
ice cream.
It's crazy.
And,
I have it here.
And she has it here. We're going to taste it. Whenever you're feeling it's ready, I am ready to taste it. But can you
right.
tell us, like, because your process, you don't just be like, all right, we're going to throw some watermelon in the machine and we'll throw some feta in the machine and see what comes out. Like, how does that happen when you do these collabs and you do these flavors that people don't think about necessarily with ice cream?
First of all, it was a brilliant idea. My
Thank
team
you.
was very excited when I shared the concept with them, so thank you for that. It's probably my most fun part of my job. I really love creating and being in the kitchen and coming up with new ideas. So what we specialize in, I think, is creating flavors with authentic ingredients. So what I'm very proud of is the fact that I will take real feta, which is in the ice cream you're about to have, and real watermelon and, kind of create something from it. So this flavor, I think, works best with a watermelon sorbet, and we swirled it with a feta cheese ice cream. So that you're going to taste that in a second. And then I also brought a different profile for y'all to taste, and that is the watermelon feta, and we did a honey balsamic glaze.
Oh, yeah.
So we get to pick which one we want.
You do. You get to choose, yes.
Wait a minute. Am I wrong in thinking? Did I just like try to match the dairy from the cow? But technically, there's no cow. There's no cow dairy in this.
There's dairy.
Is feta? I thought feta was goat milk.
Feta is, but it's mixed with our dairy base.
With your dairy base. Okay, so there
Yep.
still is some
There is,
milk
yep.
or cow
There
milk.
is.
I'm so curious as what the texture is going to be like, because how do you do, like, even anybody who's ever tried to melt feta knows that it's really hard to process feta. So what's the process of getting it into the ice cream?
That is such a brilliant question because
you. I
I
worked
didn't
on
think
it.
about that when I was creating it. And you are very right. It does not. It never breaks down. It's
Yeah.
so interesting.
This
I
one
assumed
took
it
a
would just
lot
be
of-
chunks of feta in there because it's not. Yeah, it's not a melty cheese.
Yeah, I mean, you have to embrace the texture.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you that before you guys sample it. That
Okay.
You're just going to have to embrace the texture, but it's.
This should be on a T-shirt. Embrace the texture.
Yeah.
I like it.
By the
I
way,
mean-
speaking about let's get into this.
All right, let's
I was
do it.
thinking you need to have a T-shirt while you're doing that. I'll stall for time over here, but when you were talking about how you didn't have any whey in yours, I was thinking you need to have a T-shirt that says "No way, way, way" 3 times.
Yeah, no
W-A-Y.
way.
Yeah, WAY, WHEY, and GUEY. No way, way. No
While,
way, way.
while Andia is getting the ice cream ready, I have to
It's ready, it's melting.
inject a fun fact here.
Okay.
Megan,
And
please.
this is another testament, Matt.
Yeah.
This is another testament to your brilliance.
Thank
in
you.
This,
This is my favorite
slow
episode
it down?
ever, by the way.
Let's take it down 1,000% right now. This is just Matt we're talking about.
but seriously, with this idea,
Yeah.
it turns out that culturally, Greeks always eat feta cheese with watermelon.
Okay.
It's the way it's done.
Yeah.
So the
Really?
fact that you chose those two is in perfect alignment with the way it's actually consumed in Greece.
Oh, my God.
Okay, make sure you get a little bit of the pink and a little bit of the white.
Oh, I did.
Okay, good. Because
Oh, my God.
it's a combination of
I
the
mean-
two. Yeah. You guys can
All
double
right,
it.
look at this. This is on camera right here. Oh yeah, that looks delicious already. But so,
So-
this was which one's the one I'm having right
So
now?
yeah, Max, I
That's-
want you guys to, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say that's
Yeah.
the one without the straw,
Correct.
the balsamic.
Right.
Yeah.
I want you guys to taste the first one first. The first one is without the balsamic glaze,
Oh my god.
and the second one has a homemade honey balsamic.
Honey, I'm trying not to make mouth sounds on the microphone because I know that's your least favorite thing. But this is unbelievable. I'm not just saying this
Really?
just because we've got Matt and Megan in the studio, producer Matt and Megan. Oh my God,
That was
here. I don't know if you just want this or
Seriously,
whatever, but
guys?
yeah.
Give it to me straight.
no. I mean,
Okay,
the essence of the watermelon and is just like it's amazing. It's like you know how sometimes you eat watermelon and it's like it's okay, but it's still
Yeah.
refreshing. You're like whatever. But then sometimes you eat watermelon and it's perfectly ripe and you're just like this is the most. That's what that tastes
Thank
like. And then
you.
the feta, It's creamy. It's beautifully creamy.
Yeah, the texture's
There's
good?
no crumbly.
Okay.
The texture is amazing.
Good. Do you taste
Okay.
the saltiness of the feta?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it salty enough?
I will say, to be honest, that it is it's less savory and more of the
sweetness.
sweet ice cream, but
Yeah.
it's not like sweet. It's just,
Right.
yeah. But I guess I don't taste as much as, I don't get like a saltiness.
Okay. We'll have
It's
to
there,
try
it's
it.
clearly feta.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
Okay, but so the second one has the balsamic.
savory.
So did you swirl that balsamic into it? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will say it's very challenging because you guys are eating out of a pint. It's very challenging to get the entire profile, flavor profile
should've scooped
in
it.
a pint. Well, yeah, it's just easier in a scoop. So
Yeah.
right now you guys are using your spoons to grab from a pint. And it's harder to mix the flavors to get like a clear picture. That's why I wanted you to make sure you get a little bit of white, a little bit of pink, because they're
Yeah.
two different ice creams blended together.
Yeah.
So yes, in a
Let me try that
scoop,
one
it
more
would
time.
be
I gotta
easier.
try that one more
Yeah.
What,
I'm gonna do it too. The balsamic. Okay, just straight out. I think I like the first one more just because it's pure and keeping it simple, stupid type of mentality. Like let's just we've got watermelon, we got feta. Like let's not go over the top. But you do add quite an element over here by putting balsamic and honey into this, right?
Yeah. I don't want to give you my opinion, so I'm
I
gonna
do
wait.
want your
You do want my opinion?
opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
Why would we not want the opinion of the National Grandmaster Ice Cream Maker,
Yeah.
four-time National Blue Ribbon, and James Beard Foundation WEL Fellow? We didn't even get into that yet, which we will, but why wouldn't we want to know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Honey, take some notes from these guys. I want more of this at home.
George, you and I are getting shit on right now. Apparently,
we
Matt
are.
can do no wrong, and all we
Yeah.
got to do is talk about Andia's
I know.
esteem.
Oh, yeah, George, more about me, please.
I think the only reason I'm really here is just because I drove the car.
Yeah.
No, this is his idea. Don't let him fool you. We would not have Andia's ice cream today if it were not for this man sitting next to me. So
That's awesome. But so what is your opinion
Yeah,
of the
what is
two
your-
ice creams?
the honey balsamic, I think, is delicious, but it's incredibly overpowering, I think. It takes away from the watermelon because the watermelon feta is kind of like a, light flavor. The watermelon had to be sweet in order to counteract the saltiness. So it's a little bit sweeter, but I think the honey balsamic is a little bit too overpowering. But if y'all like it, we'll do it that way.
I think we're all in lockstep here. I prefer the watermelon and
Yeah.
feta. Like it's such a beautiful,
Yeah.
pure flavor as is.
Right.
And yeah, it would be interesting if you dialed up the saltiness of the feta there
Yeah.
to see how that
Well,
would
and I don't
change.
think like if little kids, if Gray and Cam and Charlotte are all eating
They
this
would
ice cream,
love that as is.
just the watermelon feta,
Yeah.
and you don't even need to tell them that there's feta in there. They'll be like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
you don't. Really, I mean, you're not
Yeah.
going to know
Just
if you don't know.
strawberry and vanilla.
Right.
you
It
tell
almost
them.
sounds like a bubblegum flavor, like to an extent, like a little bit in there in the background, to where it's just very pleasing and just easily understandable. And so I think like it's good in a non-complex way, and then it's good in a very educated, high level. It's crowd pleasing, and I'm also thinking of how would this taste with like prosecco or a cava, and I can just imagine that it's going to be unbelievable
gonna
with
be
sparkling
delicious.
wine.
Absolutely.
So yeah, maybe we can even do like a sparkling wine float. Like just take a scoop and drop it into the ice cream.
Sounds great.
Or a scoop of the ice cream.
But you know what you could also do is, I suppose, whoever's going to be serving it could give the option of a little drizzle.
Yeah, that is true. The balsamic drizzle.
It
That
could
is
just
true.
be made to order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Siri didn't get that.
Siri, here, do you want to hear what? It's even she's chiming
Wait, Siri,
in.
you're damning my ideas now? Come on.
Yes, there we go. By the way, this sound effect
Yeah.
was me recording this.
It sounds better
Wow.
Okay. Anyway.
Okay.
But
You
so I
guys
think
have
we've.
way too much fun at work, I'm saying.
Yeah. Well,
That's
here
awesome.
we do.
on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of our work life is just whatever, off the mic. So we've decided we're going to go keep it simple. We got the watermelon feta, and you're going to have one of your folks at the space doling out ice cream, which is going to be awesome. And I mean, just even think like as a palate cleanser, which is where I could see like the usefulness too. Like whenever you do like a multi-course meal and you have an intermezzo, like 6 courses in, and it's usually like a granita or something just easy, gelato or anything, sorbet. This is perfect for that. So after you've like wolfed down Nick Damp's barbecue and then Kyle Sutton's barbecue and Jake's barbecue,
and meaty.
then it's like, all right, let's go to that ice cream. Let's clear out the palate a little bit, refresh, and then go back in. This is going to be amazing. This couldn't have come out better than what I thought. Like,
thank you.
I had it in my mind. I'm like, I hope it tastes at least like this, and you've exceeded my expectation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So are we adding saltiness to it? What did you guys think, or is it good?
I think there's going to be enough salt in the air. Like literally the brisket is going to be, I haven't checked yet, but I don't think anyone's made a sweet brisket. That's probably not going to be the case. I think there's going to be a lot of sodium flowing through the park. So let's keep it this
As
way.
is. Awesome.
Yeah, as is.
This is as part of the sommelier pairing. This ice cream will pair with the food properly and with the champagne. So I think that's a good way to go. And then it does like Bob Rossweill, you've got like it's a color in the palette rather than being everything. Like you don't want it to be all things. You want it to fit in a certain place so that you can use it to add to the experience rather than go against it. You know what I mean?
This totally fits.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
love this. Again,
Thank you.
anybody still that if you haven't bought your tickets, go to ncfbpodcast.com. It will be the first thing on the site you can click to. You can get all the connections both on our the show notes of this podcast. You can click on it, get it there. But there are tickets for everybody, kids, adults. Oh, and the one thing we didn't say is we have VIP tickets as well.
That's right.
The coolest part about that, don't get me wrong, it's a couple bucks more. It's about $25 more, but it allows you early entrance into the park. This is like when you, as like a band nerd in high school, when we went down to Disneyland to perform, we all got to go to Disneyland an hour before it opened. And so you could ride all the rides with no one in front of you. And that was the coolest thing ever. So we're doing that for Bubbles and Brisket. You get a VIP ticket. You get to come in at 1 p.m. and get to have all the fun for 1 hour before anyone else. So it definitely will be shorter lines and easier access. So if that's something that floats your boat, do that. We've got branded glassware and lanyards that are going to be on that everyone gets to take home, which is going to be fun because we know you need your hands when you're eating.
That's right.
The glass is going to be wrapped around your neck.
Amazing.
So it's going to be a fun spot.
Yeah.
So get your tickets.
All right. So what I want to know is I want to get back to this whole flavor creation and like how it works between you guys. So first of all, tell us like what's on the menu now. If you went to Andia's, like what's some of the best selling flavors, and then talk about what's the most difficult and how you made it.
Okay.
There's a lot of questions right there.
So
Just two.
We run 24 flavors a month. 16 of those are always there. And then we run six specialty flavors. That's where I get to be creative. So every month I'll do some R&D on new creations. This month, we're in May right now, we have mango jalapeno margarita, which is an amazing combination of mango sorbet, mango ice cream, spicy lime sorbet, and homemade candied jalapenos mixed in. It's so good. And we sprinkle some tahini in it. That's one of my favorites for this month. We have our
And in something like that, you're actually putting jalapenos in the ice cream.
Yeah.
And you're sourcing them and processing them and everything with that?
Yes, my incredible production team deals with the burning smell of jalapenos cooking all month long in our kitchen.
Yeah. And how do you dial that in to like get the right amount of heat? Like we were talking about, if we wanted more salt on that. So that's my question. Like, let's say we're all in agreement. We said we wanted more salt or you wanted more jalapeno in there. You would literally just add salt, or you would literally just add, I don't know, whatever the spicy part of the jalapeno is, like the
seeds,
the
or the capsaicin.
Yeah. So exactly. So depending on what the ingredient is, right? So sometimes you add a flavor enhancer instead of the actual ingredient. So for example, if I want to, if I'm making a chocolate flavor and I want to add more chocolate flavor, flavoring to it. Instead of adding more cocoa powder, which is just going to make it thicker and harder to scoop, I might add a little bit of salt or a little bit. So there's flavor enhancers like extracts, like vanilla extract is a flavor enhancer. Salt is a flavor enhancer. And so you're not going to get a salty chocolate ice cream. It's just going to enhance the flavor. Yeah. It's just like when you put salt on your steak, it brings out more of the steak flavor, not the salt.
That's what I got to tell my wife.
Yeah.
It's a flavor enhancer.
I want to give a shout out to our friends, George, right over the shoulder right there, right in front. You got some bitters. Okay, grab that, and I'd have you put it on mine, but I think my camera's all stuttering and all that. But yeah, just hold that up right there to the camera. I think it's all over the top. But we talk about flavor enhancers. That's bitters from Remedy Cocktail Company. That's the NC Effin' Bitters, which is kind of like you messing with us and doing an ice cream with us with flavors. But theirs is a dill and chive flavoring, which is really good with cocktails. I was thinking about this as you were saying this because, for one, you guys take that home and put it into a cocktail I like putting it in like a savory gin martini or so. Maybe get a little like pickle juice and put it in there, or do it in a Bloody Mary, and that's perfect.
Wow.
Do something like that. But I was thinking like it would be really cool. And you don't have to pull that up. You should be in the Vanna White over there. It's perfect. But we should connect you to like a bartender, like someone really fancy, like Greg Ewan, or somebody that has like a really good cocktail mind, because I bet they could come up with some really cool flavors that would be like next level to put like some sort of like, like a Negroni as an ice cream or doing something like that. I could just see all those amazing flavors getting put together and how that could just be like a fun little series of fun things to try. And then you could take that ice cream and literally put it in a cocktail and make something on top of it. I don't know. Just an idea.
I love it. I would love that. That's my favorite part of my job. Is to collab and create.
So cool.
Yeah.
So fun, and to do things out of the ordinary.
So what are some of the other flavors that are going on right now?
Matt, that's so much pressure. I'm trying to think
George,
offhand.
you had George to help
I
you
should
out.
have brought a list. George, what do we make?
Well, the butter, it's like the butter toffee popcorn. Is that always
That was a
available?
collaboration, right, that you did.
So that was a collab with 3 local businesses, which I love to highlight other small businesses as well. But we are now carrying it on. We're actually shipping live on Goldbelly starting this summer, hopefully by early June. And so that's a flavor that's always going to be available through Goldbelly, butter toffee popcorn, which is fun. But I'm trying to think. Do you guys want something? We're doing a smoked maple bacon, Millionaire's Bacon right now for Getting Piggy With It, which is another event that Jake Wood will be at as well, and a bunch of other guys.
Tell us about that, because you were telling us off mic about the maple and processing that and everything.
Yeah, so in the past, I've made a maple bacon praline. So I candy the bacon, and then I create a maple base, and then we do pecan pralines. But I was talking about it with my production team, and one of the guys who works for us, he's like, I have a smoker. We could smoke the maple. And I'm like, what? So he literally took a gallon of maple syrup, smoked it in his smoker overnight, and it completely changed the profile. It is absolutely delicious.
Wow.
The smoke comes right through. And my suggestion was, I'll just put smoke flavoring. He's like, no, don't do that. And it's incredible the difference to use real.
Yeah, liquid smoke sucks. Don't use that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he was saying.
But that's kind of, you guys do, like, I feel that's the first try for you guys is to use the actual ingredient, and then if you can't, you'll fill it with a flavor enhancer.
Right.
But and then so you put the maple, you put the bacon, and remind me, at what point does that actually go? Like, you put that right into the mixer? I don't recall when those flavors or the products actually go in.
So there is, it's very scientific. Honestly, there's no one fits all answer. It depends on what it is. So, for example, if I'm putting chunks of bacon or candied jalapenos or something like that in it, it's not going to go in the machine because the blades in the machine are going to chop that up and it's going to ruin it. So it depends on the flavor. So for the maple bacon that we're doing, it's a Millionaire's Bacon, the bacon's going to go in at the end. So as it comes out of the machine, we call it like seating in the what do you call it?
Variegated?
No, it's not a variegated. Oh my God, why is my
I'm not the production guy.
Yeah.
So I'm just
the
guessing.
inclusion. Sorry, my brain just stopped working.
It.
The inclusion, yeah. So it depends on what it is. So for example, if I'm making Oreo ice cream, I want to put Oreos in the batch freezer as it's freezing to give it like an Oreo base, like a flavor, but it's not going to have chunks of Oreo at the end. So now I want to add more Oreos in as it comes out of the machine, so it has chunks. If you want chunks, don't put it in the batch freezer; it'll destroy it. So it depends. I know that doesn't answer your question, but
some of it
some of it goes in the machine
just to get the flavor, and then for the texture part, you add it at the end.
Perfectly. Yeah. Well said. That's it. Flavor in the machine, texture outside of the machine. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, hey, before we get out of here, I know that, and you have it all over your website, so I think we could talk about this. You have a new location coming.
Yes.
You have a new location. Are you terrified about
We're super excited. Super excited.
This is at the Ironworks in downtown Raleigh, which a lot of new places are going to be opening up there. It's going to be a really cool spot. This is like if you're in downtown Raleigh and you know where the loading dock is, Hummingbird and Wilson's and all of that area right there. It's just across the street. Raleigh Magazine's been covering it like crazy, so check out any of their information about it. But you're going to have your third retail shop inside of the Ironworks. What is? I mean, does anyone know the opening dates of like Ironworks are in general and the whole and your space?
Fingers crossed. We think we'll be open. I'd say second week in June.
Oh, for Bubbles and Brisket. Mm-hmm. Well, after Bubbles.
And Brisket.
Yeah. Mid June is a very realistic date for us.
That's
as far as
super cool.
Ironworks opening, it's kind of a as each tenant opens kind of thing, as opposed to a grand opening.
Yeah.
Eventually, they may choose to do a big grand opening once it's fully occupied, but East Cut Sandwiches from Durham is opening in about another week, and then we'll be the second food tenant there, opening maybe 3 weeks after them.
And Scott Crawford is building a restaurant right next door to us, which we're super excited about.
That won't hurt.
Yeah, that'll be pretty good. Yeah. But I think he's not opening until the end of the year, possibly. But Ponysaurus is going in. There's a lot of amazing tenants that are going to be in there. It's a very cool space. We'll
be covering more of those companies. I know a couple other ones that I can't say out loud either, but
can't wait.
I know a bunch of people that are opening up in that area. Not me, but I just know people that are doing it and have reached out, and I was like, "Oh, you're going to be there? Oh, you're going to be there? It's going to be a cool spot. It's going to be really fun." It's like, Fenton was like pulling everybody over to Cary, and then Raleigh just went whoopsh, and then like did Ironworks and brought everybody back. So it's good. This like Raleigh guy here, me with the two thumbs, was very like excited to know that we were going to do something actually in Raleigh, that like Raleigh was going to have new food here. Imagine that. Imagine someone actually putting the new concept of food in our state's capital. Yeah, that would be nice. So well done, Ironworks, and everyone else being involved with that, because that's super exciting for at least for me, just as a patron.
Sure.
Will you do a grand opening flavor for Ironworks?
That's a great question. I am sure we will. We've got
what
lots
you got to
of
do?
Great ideas.
Blood. Put blood into it, because
God.
blood
sounds
iron.
great.
Oh God.
Blood has iron in it,
Max,
like
this
like
is
a
why
blood
Matt
sausage.
makes the flavors and not you. You just ruined it for yourself.
Come on, blood orange,
Blood orange, okay.
and real blood, like and pig
and real blood.
Yeah.
This ice cream. How'd you describe it? Iodine.
I will tell you though, the one time, the first and probably sadly the last time I had blood sausage, Felicia and I were at an Irish pub having your traditional Irish breakfast. And we ate this sausage, and it was divine. We were like mowing it down. And then Willie, who's an Irishman, he comes over and he's like, "Oh, you enjoying your I can't do that.
You're doing it great, actually.
You're enjoying your breakfast, I see." And we're like, "Oh, this is amazing." He's like, "Oh, and you ate all your blood sausage?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is really good." He's like, "Yeah." I go, "You called it blood sausage? That's a funny name." He's like, "Why is it funny? It's made from blood." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You take the pig, you hang it up, you bleed it out, and then it congeals, and you make a sausage out of it."
No.
I'm like, "Are you telling me that's what we just ate?" He's like, "Oh, yeah." And then Felicia and I almost gagged. We're like, "Oh." And that was the last time we ever had
A
it.
wee bit Scottish on that. It's a little bit more Irish.
Yeah.
A little bit more sing-song.
Like doing Fat Bastard. I eat because I'm unhappy, and I'm unhappy because I eat. Oh my God.
What would Fat Bastard's ice cream collab be?
Yeah. That's great.
That's a good question.
Well, but thank you all for coming in.
Thank you guys
appreciate
Thank
it.
you for
so
having
much.
us.
And thank you for sharing your
been
ice
fun.
cream for all of you, honestly, out there. If you want some of the best damn ice cream in the state, go to one of their 3 locations, like their 2 locations in Cary and the soon-to-be Ironworks in downtown Raleigh. You will eat extremely merrily.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
guys. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B Podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.